Coming up now in your spoiler-free wrestling news rundown, Ronda Rousey blasts WWE, John Laurinaitis, Vince McMahon, and Bruce Prichard in her upcoming memoir. We've got more on that coming up. Also, what was Matt Hardy doing at WWE Raw on Monday? And also, we've got Mercedes Monae talking about why she decided to sign with AEW. All that and more coming up now. Ronda Rousey does not hold back her feelings about Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, Bruce Prichard, and the culture in WWE in her new memoir, Our Fight, which releases on April 2nd. It's the follow-up to the book she released in 2015 titled My Fight. So while the book isn't out yet, a few excerpts from it began spreading on social media on Wednesday. Up on your screen now, here is what was released. She wrote, NXT was founded by and under the control of Triple H, real name Paul Levesque. In addition to being my in-ring WrestleMania nemesis, he is arguably one of the best professional wrestlers in history and one of the better people on the business side. He is married to Stephanie McMahon, who is the daughter of WWE's Emperor Palpatine, Vince McMahon. Vince took over the company from his father in the early 1980s and spent the better part of 40 years playing a real-world pro wrestling version of Monopoly, buying up and absorbing smaller promotions until he basically owned them all. It's hard sometimes to know where the evil, unethical slimeball character of Vince McMahon played out for the camera's ends, and the actual questionably ethical, many times sued, and multiple times accused of sexual misconduct Vince McMahon begins. That blurred line between character and reality is a recurring theme within the WWE universe. Elsewhere in the book, she writes, pay-per-views held in major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia, as well as now twice a year in Saudi Arabia, a nation that restricts the rights of women in a way that I'm certain Vince McMahon wishes he could. Rousey continues to bash WWE's history with women's wrestling. She writes, WWE loves to do well-produced video segments about the legacy of women within the organization, but the truth is women have largely been footnotes. For the longest time, they were relegated to serving male characters in a valet role, an overly sexualizing supporting character that takes cheap shots when the ref isn't looking. Over time, as the level of female talent grew and society as a whole started to shift, the organization gradually expanded the role of female wrestlers. WWE bills itself as a sports entertainment organization, and just like in the mainstream entertainment industry, there was, by all accounts, a casting couch culture where men backstage in powerful positions pressured female talent for sexual favors in return for airtime. There were so many public accusations and scandals it's hard to keep track, and more that I'm sure WWE managed to sweep under the rug. She continued to say the company only expanded the roles of female talent after being armbarred into it. She wrote, and it was only after WWE was basically armbarred into it, following a global social media backlash to hashtag Give Divas a Chance, after Divas were given a total of 30 seconds, less time than it takes most people to read this paragraph, for a nationally televised tag match. 4 women were given less time to collectively wrestle than every single man on the roster got for his intro music alone. Presented this information as a person outside of the wrestling world, you might draw the conclusion that there is a troubling foundational sexist patriarchal culture within the WWE. You would be right. I have nothing but respect for the female wrestlers who paved the way for women wrestlers today, and nothing but disgust for the amount of sexist, degrading bullshit they were put through. Rousey later published a video to Instagram talking about her book, which again releases on April 2nd. During the interview, she said the only reason that she didn't devote more time to trashing Bruce Prichard, John Laurinaitis, Vince McMahon is because of space limitations. She said, the only thing that really held me back was the number of words I was allowed to have in this book. We were contractually held to 9,000 words. That can't be right. 9,000 words is not, that's an incredibly short book. It must be some other number. But anyway, what's quoted here is her saying, we were contractually held to 9,000 words, and I was going to talk so much more shit, especially about John Laurinaitis and Bruce Prichard. But our editor said we had to streamline everything and not take a detour on these old bastards' quests. So there was a lot more to it, but I basically had to get down to the meat and potatoes in this. She was asked for some behind-the-scenes stories that are in the book, and Rousey said, another thing that people don't know, oh God, behind the scenes, oh yeah, how much of an absolute shit show it is at the WWE. They can't hold the sword over my head and hold me hostage with my own career, and I don't need anything from them, and I don't intend on going back. So I can actually say everything that I think and feel, well, where everybody else that is still held captive by their organization cannot. So again, that's all from Ronda Rousey's book, Our Fight, which releases on April 2nd. And there's some news available concerning Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy had said on his podcast recently that his contract with AEW expires at the end of the month. However, he continued to say that him and AEW are in the midst of contract negotiations. So while this is going on, Matt Hardy was actually spotted at WWE Raw last night. Raw was from the PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. Matt Hardy's from nearby Cameron, North Carolina, so it's not unheard of that he would be at the show. Rebby Hardy had actually posted a video to TikTok of her and Matt in a private suite at the show, which got a lot of people talking on social media, considering that he is about to be a free agent or is in the middle of contract negotiations with AEW. So Fightful posted a report on this on Tuesday, and basically Fightful's report said that Hardy and his wife Rebby Hardy were there. They were invited by a friend to sit in the suite at the PNC Arena. They didn't meet with anybody from WWE while at the show. This was not them meeting to discuss contracts or anything of the like. They were just invited to the show by some friends. They live in nearby Cameron, North Carolina, and that's why they were there. Dustin Rhodes announced that his nephews, Wyatt and Wayne Rhodes, are going to make their professional wrestling debut this weekend at the Rhodes Wrestling Academy Showcase event on Sunday. Their tag team name will be the Texas Outlaws, which was the same name their grandfather Dusty Rhodes used with Dick Murdoch in their tag team in the 1970s. And so Dustin Rhodes wrote that the brothers will compete for the RWA tag team titles in a 2 of 3 falls match. He wrote, "The Rhodes legacy is strong and growing. Introducing my nephews Wyatt and Wayne Rhodes, the Texas Outlaws, who will make their debut at RWA's Showcase this Sunday, March 24th at 7, 6 Central on RWA's YouTube channel in the main event. 2 out of 3 falls, 30-minute time limit for the tag team titles." So the brothers are sons to Dusty Rhodes' daughter, former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader Kristen Ditto. And so they are getting ready to start their story on Sunday as their Uncle Cody prepares to finish his at WrestleMania. Since debuting with AEW at Big Business last week, Mercedes Monae has been doing a lot of media explaining her decision to sign with AEW over returning to WWE. So she spoke to Mark Raimondi of ESPN and was asked about rumors that she had signed a very lucrative deal with the company. And Monae responded saying, I'm not Mercedes Monae for no reason. Money changes everything. I'm always about that bag. Absolutely. Now, there have been a lot of rumors out there regarding just how much Mercedes Monae, is getting paid by AEW. Here's what Dave Meltzer wrote about it in last week's Wrestling Observer newsletter. He said those with knowledge of the offer said it was very substantial, obviously higher than WWE, but considerably lower than the $5 million per year figure going around. Now, this was very similar with Kazuchika Okada. There had been reports going out there that he was making $4 million a year, something like $15 million for the duration of his contract. Others, however, have said that that's a very inflated number that was published by Tokyo Sports. And while Okada is making a great deal of money, he's not necessarily making quite as much as what was said in a Tokyo Sports article not long ago. Monae also mentioned that being able to work on outside projects was a big deal for her. And with AEW, she can look at acting roles, she can record music, she can wrestle for New Japan Pro Wrestling, she can wrestle for Stardom. So this is what she said to Mark Raimondi. She said, "You can do so much more in AEW. You can do everything. And for me, I want to do everything. So this is the place for me to be, and this is the place that I call home." Also, during the interview with ESPN, Monae mentioned that when she suffered the injury last year while wrestling Willow Nightingale, she was actually told that
the injury was career-ending, that she was never going to come back from it. And this is what Monae said about that experience. She said, "I love wrestling so much that I could not let the doctor tell me I won't wrestle again. I couldn't let them say that was going to happen. I didn't take no for an answer, and I pushed hard every single day, rehabbing, working out, getting my mind right, meditating, because again, I wasn't sure when I was going to come back. I just knew that I was going to come back someday." So up next for Mercedes Moné will be AEW Dynamite in Toronto on Wednesday. She is scheduled for the show. Just the only thing that has been announced just says we'll hear from Mercedes Moné live on AEW Dynamite this week. WWE revealed on Monday that a documentary on the life of Bray Wyatt will air on Peacock beginning on April 1st. The documentary will be narrated by The Undertaker. A description for the documentary reads, "Bray Wyatt is one of the most revered and mysterious characters in WWE history. The story behind the character and the man himself, Wyndham Rotunda, has never been documented until now. Using never-before-seen interviews and exclusive backstage footage, Wyndham Rotunda's inspiring story unfolds. This documentary chronicles Wyndham's incredible rise to worldwide fame as a WWE superstar and the struggles and successes that come with being a creative visionary. Sadly, in August of 2023, Wyndham passed away at the age of 36. In the wake of his untimely death, Wyndham leaves behind a family still grieving with loss as they celebrate a lasting legacy that continues to create and inspire." We announced in a previous video that the new AAA Mega Champion will be determined on April 27th at AAA Monterey. We now know the two wrestlers who will be competing in that match to determine the new champion. It will be Nick Nemeth going up against Alberto El Patron. Couple of news items concerning WWE Raw. WWE has announced that The Rock will be on the April 1st edition of the show in Brooklyn, New York. That will be the go-home edition of Raw. It'll be the final Raw before WrestleMania. Also concerning WrestleMania and wrestlers assigned to the Raw brand, CM Punk revealed that he will be at WrestleMania 40. Of course, he is not medically cleared to be on the show. He has a torn tricep. He's not expected back until late in the summer. A video aired on WWE Raw on Monday night saying that he'll be there whether he's invited or not. And Punk will also be on WWE Raw next week, which will be from Chicago. So perhaps we'll find out a little bit more about what Punk might be doing at WrestleMania on that show. Maybe he'll have something to say to Drew McIntyre. And we have a bit of a timetable for Nikita Lyons' return to the ring. We're not really sure what her injury is, but she hasn't wrestled since January, and she had just returned to the ring in December after 11 months out of action with a torn ACL. She was a guest on Booker T's Hall of Fame podcast and said she's hoping to be back by Halloween Havoc. And that's going to do it for this video, everyone. Don't forget to smash the like button, the subscribe button, all the good positive buttons. Smash them, and we'll see you next video.